Everybody for coming out tonight. I want to extend a warm round of applause for Mr. Sal Williams. He's the maestro of our orientation, or excuse me, our overview meeting. Yeah, so if you guys haven't been here before, we're actually just starting a new policy in this program where once a month we do a free class for selected topic, and this month's topic happens to be wholesaling, which is my specialty. And so all of you that aren't students, consider yourselves fortunate. I was talking to Sam earlier, or Sam and Sal, that this is actually some material that we should probably be charging at the door. We should be charging parking at the door. We should be taking a credit card information at the back for the next workshop. No, just kidding. Wholesaling, it's true. I was very fortunate to have one particular wholesale transaction where it netted me a six-figure income. And although that's not the norm, that just goes to say that when you're creative, when you have a network, when you have buyers, the sky's the limit, even in wholesaling.
You're hungry.
Knowing what I know now, honestly, I wish I would have flipped it, but I didn't have Sam yet. So I didn't have fortune weavers, but I knew what I knew, and it changed my life. What can I say? So without belaboring too much, let's get started. This is something I would have Sam talk about. This may be from last year's slide, so we'll just go through there. Donna, Carolyn, Nathan, all you guys, shout outs for what you guys have recently done. I don't know if that's you. But bird dogs versus wholesalers. Okay, I started out as a bird dog. Every one of you that wants to get into wholesaling must start out as a bird dog. That's a really weird looking vulture-like German Shepherd creature, but you're gonna look something like that when you're just beginning. It's gonna be a little awkward to start. What is a bird dog? It can be anything from somebody who goes around looking for ugly homes that have equity, that just might be a deal, and he passes along an address to an end buyer, somebody that has the cash to actually close on the transaction and flip it. You're just a finder as a bird dog. And so that's the lowest tier, I would say, of somebody that's going out scouting and sending deals to investors. Just bare bones. The next tier of somebody that I would consider intermediate bird dog is somebody who does a little more effort and negotiates part of the sale, or at least booking the appointment. That's the next step. You want to get to the point where you're confident to door knock, you're confident to market, spend some of your money to make the connection and start that interest, pique the interest of the seller who's looking, to find a cash buyer. Third level, I know I'm going a little bit fast. This is just kind of my own improvisation. The third level bird dog is somebody that connects with a large sphere of influence of wholesalers predominantly, people that have control of a property via a contract. Because if you're just door knocking, if you're just seeking out leads, there's no control of that until you've actually secured that property legally, right? And once you have that, you have leverage. And that's the most important fact. We talked about leverage in our last class on marketing to realtors. So yeah, that's my summary of the 3 steps of a good. The last one was a vulture. This is a golden eagle, beautiful Labrador. This is what you're going to soar into once you're really flying. So typically bird dogs have a contract directly with you. So since you guys are all investors, borrowed credibility through fortune weavers, you would like to create an exclusive contract, a non-circumvention, non-disclosure, confidentiality agreement that allows you to get all of his leads. My experience personally is that's hard to control if you're working with 100+ bird dogs. So you just want to make sure that you've created clarity in instruction, because they want to learn. They just want to figure out, what are you looking for? What's your criteria? How high can you go? This and that. As long as you're amicable, they want to call you, they're going to send you deals. Trust me. People want to send you deals. You should have an agreed upon fee, for sure. You want to know, in the beginning, you want them to have specific expectations and be clear about that. If they're very new to this Don't set the bar this high. Don't tell them they're going to be making 10 to 20 grand per deal. Tell them that to expect, you know, $1,000 to $3,000, depending on how much equity and how good of a deal it is. Yeah, so working directly with you. The key difference between a bird dog and a wholesaler is primarily they're not putting their own money into this. Partly they're not educated enough to take that risk, but many of them, you know, many of them just don't have the wherewithal. And so that leads me to, if you do have a little bit more wherewithal, smarter to invest $5,000 into joining our gold program, if you haven't already, and learn the whole scope of this program than putting it into a earnest money deposit that you might lose. Wholesalers, here we go. My idea of a wholesaler is now he's done everything a bird dog can do, he's more knowledgeable, and he's willing to take a risk. So he does have money that he's going to put into a contract. He works independently, he's autonomous. You're not going to create an NCND with a wholesaler to say, only send me deals. Why is that? Because he has all the leverage. He has what you want. He's got a contract. He also has the money. He's going to lock this thing into escrow. That way, nobody can circumvent him. The quintessential or successful wholesaler is really just a baby investor, in my opinion. A good investor is going to become a great wholesaler. A great wholesaler may not be ever a good investor. And the key to being successful in both, obviously, in the beginning is knowing your numbers. We teach a class on that. Knowing what a property will be worth, renovated, and why. Understanding your pricing. You need to know how much it costs to renovate a kitchen, generally. How much are windows on average? Mark, how much is an average window in a rehab?
I don't know, I'm faking it.
Give me a guess.
$1,000.
A little less. Try a fifth of that.
A fifth of that?
Yeah.
$300.
Yeah, in some cases, $250 or so. So you want to speak. Yeah, so it's $250 for a window generally. We do a kitchen for 7 to 10 grand. If you do it yourself at Home Depot, it's going to be like 20 to 25 grand.
Wow.
So we can tell people that we're going to save you 50% of what you would spend if you tried to do this on your own. Challenge your homeowner. If you've got them really interested, tell them to go seek out an independent bid to renovate their home and have them compare it with JC's bid. It's going to build a lot of value. What's up, Kendra? These guys, obviously, the more knowledge they carry, the more they charge. And they can, well, not necessarily. It depends on how juicy of a deal, right? So looking at my property in Santa Monica, I was very fortunate that came to me. We secured a property for $1.4 million. I knew right away it was worth a lot more than that. There was a ton of equity. My eyes lit up, but guess what? Always a question I ask when I'm dealing with a wholesaler or a homeowner or an agent is, even if I've got a deal that's a steal, clearly, write this down. Is that the best that you can do? In every situation. That's the last question, the magical question. Is that the best that you can do? He dropped it by another $100,000 just for the sake of getting it into escrow. So we had it at 1.5. That was a home run. I said, hey, can you do any better? Got it to 1.4. We opened escrow. We secured the property under contract. And we took an offer for $200,000 more than that. And we were pumping our fist, you know. And then over the weekend, a flood of other offers came in because we had blasted this out to a number of buyers that we knew. And by the end of it, we found another offer for $1.9 million. And we had it under contract for $1.4 million. And it was a 2,000 square foot home off 14th Street in Santa Monica, had a pool, vacant. Homeowner was in tax default. So she had to get rid of one property to save 3 others that were also being foreclosed upon. All right, back to the presentation. It's annoying that you can't see that, but basically it's not illegal to wholesale. It's a perfectly legal and sound way to build wealth. You are a principal. You want to convey to the homeowner that you're not an agent, you're not going to charge commissions, you're not wasting anybody's time. I'm the buyer. And in reality, you are borrowing Fortune Weaver's credibility and experience as buyers, so you should be able to say that confidently. And if you're ever stuck, you say, hold on a second, let me bring my business partner on the phone. And you call Sam Weaver, right? Or myself, or Sal.
Give me your number.
Once you join.
Pay up first. Needs. You got to have a business card. Plain and simple. I'm sure everybody here has a business card. If you're a student, shame on you if you don't. Second, marketing materials. I love bandit signs, as you guys all know. Sal Williams uses his knuckles. That's his marketing skill. There's a little more to it than that. You use letters, Lin Fam, Leo. Driving for dollars. I love Property Radar because I was doing what Sam taught me the other day. You put it on the equity layers feature. You just stick it on your dashboard and you drive slowly through a neighborhood. I was going with my girlfriend. And I was like, oh, there's a green one. Let's look at that. And this is all of her neighbors. And she's like, oh, they have that much equity? That's all that it's worth? Oh, okay, this one. That's a good door knocker. And so you can just, drive through a whole neighborhood, do a little recon, write the addresses down, and then hammer them out in a few hours on a Saturday. A good wholesaler obviously has some cash to tie it up. He's got to have up to 10 grand to secure the property with an earnest money deposit. I never used the website. I thought about it a lot. To me, it's great if you're doing a lot of online marketing, obviously. But I was of the mentality that the best deals are going to be from somebody that's, I hate to say it, maybe a little naive. They don't know that they could sell their house for a lot more. That's when I was a one-trick pony. Today, I would love to tell somebody exactly how much their house will sell after I renovate it with my cash and I sell it for top dollar. But back then, I didn't want them to really know what the maximum value for their home was. So I didn't target online. I thought online sellers are a little bit more sophisticated than people who just call off a sign. I don't know how you're going to do this business without a phone. That just goes without saying. Computer, comping properties. And finally, you want to build your buyer's list. And there's a few ways you can do this. And I'll talk about that in a second. Your leads obviously come from your marketing. Easier to sell a house than it is to find good properties to sell. It got chopped off. So, well, my experience is once you find a good deal, it's actually easier to find a buyer once you have a deal in hand than it is to build a whole list of buyers, having never done a deal, trying to sort out their subtle nuances, Find a good deal based on our numbers, our format, and if you're not going to flip it, I'm sure the buyer will find you. This is like anything, right? Nothing happens instantly. You got to dedicate yourself. You have to educate yourself. You have to visualize this. That's why goal cards are valuable. You have to see this every morning. What is my goal this month? I'm going to find one deal in the next 30 days. And if it's 10 o'clock at night and you didn't get any traction, you're going to send some emails, right? You're going to plan for the next day. Planning is everything, strategizing. Definitely don't wholesale in your own name. I also wouldn't put your phone number on bandit signs. I would use a Google Voice number or a call rail number or something, any VoIP. But an LLC or S Corp so that you limit your liability so that if you're ever sued, people aren't going after your personal assets. But it also gives the impression that you're more professional, that you've done deals if you have a corporation already. This is really important. Don't try to, don't allow your eyes to be bigger than your actual appetite. Don't take on too much at first. Corner out a specific type of home or type of a niche, whether it's probates, whether it's divorce leads, tax liens, foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. Figure out what works best, master that, and then you'll move on to the next field. But also always educate yourself. Be well-rounded, because sometimes a deal is going to fall in your lap that you weren't prepared for, right? Wasn't your niche. So you want to know a little bit to sound professional, and then get your partner on the phone who's going to help you fill in the blanks. So this is great for building a sphere of influence. Think about all the people in your life, all your Facebook friends. Check your phone. Check, you've got insurance people, agents, attorneys. Who else? Name another person in your life that you think could.
The mailman.
The mailman. Cool.
City inspectors.
Actually, there you go. Perfect time. Anybody else? James, you got one? Who else could bring you a deal?
Contract.
Friends or family. Dentist.
City inspectors.
Cable. Utility people.
Landscapers.
Landscapers. I was just actually talking to a guy who does hauling and demo, and he says he comes across a lot of deals. Mr. Williams.
Estate planners.
Estate planners.
Estate planners, they send me stuff too.
Right. Divorce attorneys. Estate planning attorneys. Friends and family. Bird dogs. What do you know? If you're a bird dog, where's the best place to go find a deal? Another bird dog who's been doing this longer than you. Who knows more than you, maybe. More connected than you. Firemen. They come across a lot of burnouts. Goes without saying.
That's horrible.
Unfortunately, one man's loss or one man's trash is another man's treasure. There's always going to be a need when somebody's in distress. Our goal is to be the good guy, because we have the opportunity to take advantage of somebody or to explain all of these options at our disposal that can put them in the best possible situation. Next chapter. So, if a seller is motivated, you can always find a way to make it work. Sam just mentioned, and we'll get into this a little bit more, as you build knowledge and as you become more just sophisticated in this business, you'll learn to angle it in ways that benefit you. I called it the trifecta on the phone. I'm always just looking for my transactional fee, and 99% of wholesalers just want that, and then the rest is done with. In the past, I wouldn't even look at what a property sold for until I looked at one that was listed today, and I'm like shocked. It's almost $250,000 more than I valued it at. It's listed. I don't think they're going to sell it for that much. We're going to look at that case example a little bit later. But back to the trifecta. If you have a cash flow buyer, a smart way to go about creating income and wealth for yourself is to not only charge that $10,000, $20,000 finder's fee for bringing him the deal, but if he's not good at this to begin with, you're going to have a lot more leverage in taking a stake of his equity and putting yourself on title for 10% of the home's value. In addition, we have a property management company. Why not manage the duplex for him? Make an extra, whatever, if it's $1,200 a month, make extra $120 a month indefinitely, passive income. So you've just created 3 forms of income for yourself. Did you have a question? I think I saw you raise your hand. No. Any questions, anybody? Alan.
Yes. Do you guys just do residential, or do you guys deal with real commercial properties like 5 units or more?
The case.
Selling this plan just with residential?
Any kind of property. There are wholesalers who flip skyscrapers somewhere, somehow. The example I'm giving, Sam did a commercial property in Compton where he started out as a wholesaler who's going to charge the buyer a fee, but because he's professional and outspoken, he was able to calmly help the seller, have him list the property and allow him to double lend it. So he made 5% of his commission that way. He just told the seller, hey, look, you want $800,000 for the property? I'm going to bring in another buyer. If I make anything above and beyond that, I'll just charge it as a commission. Is that okay with you? You're making your $800,000. They said, yeah, I just need to make what I made. So he made $45,000 as a commission for double lending that deal in 2 weeks. The property is bringing in something like $7,000 in monthly rent, so he is making 10% of that as the property manager. He also put his name on title and has a 10% equity stake in that property. Not bad for one deal in 2 weeks' time, right? How do you tell if a seller is motivated? A lot of telltale signs. Who knows? Give me an example. Anybody?
Distress,
Everybody.
financial distress.
So you talk to them, you get them to open up about their financial situation. Yeah, fine. That's the primary one. What are some other signs if you're just looking at a home?
No lights?
Lights are out. Maybe the windows are busted out. There's a squatter living in there.
Run down car.
Right? So 50, 10, 5. Sam, I'm not sure exactly what that refers
I look
to.
at 50 properties, make 10 offers.
There you go, okay. There you go. So 10% ratio. Yeah, that's pretty good. For every 100 phone calls that come in on my bandit signs, I would say 2 or 3 are something where I could probably work with. And I just got one today in Duarte. It's a homeowner called in. They've got a 2-1, 800 square feet. It's got a guest house, and I was like, hey, I own a property on Hurstview and Mountain. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm real close to that. So JC and I have an appointment tomorrow at 12. So.
Excuse me, I have a question. What type of geographical area, how big of an area are you guys working with? Are you specific to Southern California or
I am unorthodox in that I'll drive all over the place. If I have an appointment in Ontario, I'll put a sign in Ontario or 3. If I have,
out of state perhaps? Or
you could. I went as far as Barstow. I haven't hung any signs on in Henderson when I go visit my girlfriend in Nevada yet, but I'm trying to stay within like an hour and a half of where I live. I think is a good rule of thumb.
Are you asking if we go out of state?
yeah.
So here's kind of our theory that we talk about here is, yes, we've gone out of state. We've done a lot of business out of state. Problem with most of the Midwest stuff, it's really cheap. The appreciation is really low. So we love California because there's areas where we can buy, and Matt's a living example of it, for around $100,000 has great cash flow, and you get the appreciation with it. That appreciation for future value is very, very important. Right? So we love California, we will look out of state, but if we can do it here, why would we go anywhere else if we didn't have to? So that's kind of that's our theory. Not that we won't, but as long as we can still find it here, I mean, we're doing very well.
But would you agree that if we, for some reason, just getting started at out of state, it might be a little bit easier to do considering the options are cheaper?
Okay.
Profit margin.
It's a very good question. So, yeah, you can get properties in St. Louis and you get them for $15,000, $30,000. We know that. We have turnkey partners out there. They're not going to appreciate. They're going to have very low cash flow. So, I mean, you can. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just like to be able to drive to the house,
Yeah, I agree.
upon short notice. I want to see what condition. I want to see what the tenants are doing.
Yeah, but I feel like eventually.
Not like in the house. I want to see what the yard. Like, are they taking care of? I'm not going to go peek my head into the window.
I'll do it.
But for example, how does this work with the money issue, right? I mean, you can't really play unless you have a $500,000 bankroll to play with at the minimum in Southern California, right?
Nope.
No, not true.
Lenders. You need private lenders and hard money lenders. Beautiful thing about a hard money lender on my most recent purchase in Bakersfield, in Oildale. So I got the deal for $105,000, and they lent 80% of the purchase contract and 100% of the renovation. So you're going to pay points on these small deals. They're going to charge you, 3 or 4 points to do the loan. This guy doesn't do any garbage fees, so he charged me a little under $3,000 to give me a loan to secure the property. Well, there's a down payment, right? And there's still holding costs. And there's, yeah, the renovation is going to be funded, but I have to pay for that first draw. So if you're not, in this transaction, I used zero money of my own. I had a gap money lender. And he helped me, he covered the down payment. I secured a second trust deed against the property. We teach you how to do that.
You're going to introduce us to all your rich friends.
Yeah.
You've got more rich friends in your phone than you realize. Put them in front of Sam Weaver, you're going to raise a lot of capital. Building your buyer's list. call other investor marketing. Yeah, so I mean, look, call my sign. I'll be your buyer. Call a billboard, 1-800-44, you know, those ugly homes, those cavemen that are on the billboards. There's a lot of ways to find buyers. The best way to find a buyer is, of course, who can guess it? What public domain do we have access to as realtors? Hint, hint. Usually, boom. You have the transaction record for any property. Who owned it? Who sold it? If it's been flipped, you can look at the name of the LLC. Do a Google search. Skip trace them if you have to. Make friends with those guys. An example of a property I did in Watts off East 112th Place. It was a really curious deal. Homeowner, he told me, I gotta sell my house and I'm not telling anybody in my family I'm doing it. And he knew he was selling it real cheap. And I didn't want to ask why. It seemed like he wanted to get out of the country or something. But I arrived at the property, it's 414 square feet and it's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. And I'm like, dude, this is weird. And that this little lot size was like 3,500 square feet. I was like, there's no way I can wholesale this thing. You know, who's gonna buy it? You have to add on to it. Well, I looked on my title website and right next to it was another narrow rectangular property that title had said was the same size, but I could see clearly there was an addition built on to the back of it. And it was being renovated right now. The name of the owner was a guy named Omid Harounian. And I Googled him, and he's a dentist in Newport Beach. I called his dental office, and I said, guess what? I have a property right next to your project, under contract. It's the zoned R2, just like yours is. I know what your play is on this deal that you're working on. You're expanding it. It's zoned for 2 units, so he's creating it into a duplex. And I said, this would be an ideal opportunity for you to do 2 deals right next to one another. Why not? So I had it locked up for 100 grand. He bought it for 114 grand. And in a few short weeks, everybody walked away happy.
Hey, Matt, I just want to point out one thing. Now, how did you and I meet?
Sam called off my sign.
Right? So
Yeah.
when you're saying call off other investor marketing, that's exactly how you and I met. Right?
Boom.
Just like that.
Very simple.
Right? The other thing you had said about properties, so you're buying a property, Matt, for $105,000. What did they get it under contract for?
77,000.
You see, in Texas?
At that small price point, somebody made,
Where?
you know, just under 25 grand.
In California. Southern California. That's theoretically Southern California. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean, Bakersfield is right on the border. Investment club meetings. I did my second deal from somebody that I brushed shoulders with at an investment club meeting at the double, what's it called? The DoubleTree near LAX airport. They would do like a monthly meetup, and there was always some seminar going on where they pitched, you know, join this academy or do this and that. But I'd always go just for the first 15, 30 minutes to hand out business cards with people. And I met an agent who was connected to a lot of cash buyers. That was a great resource. He bought another deal from me in Watts. I did a lot of business in Watts in the beginning, which don't ask me why. I just found good deals out there. Ghost ads on Craigslist. If somebody's marketing that they want to buy properties on Craigslist, they're pretty hungry. They want a deal. Foreclosure auctions. I don't know, Sam, how would you go about finding a buyer? Would you literally go to the auction and?
yeah, because if you go to public auctions, there's buyers there, right?
There are.
So, and remind me to talk about when we got off the project. We actually got off the auction later, but yeah. Who's at auctions? What are they doing? People with cash buying property.
Wheeling and dealing.
So rub shoulders with them, see what you can work out.
It's a nice resource.
So let me comment on that real quick. So this is something we paid for. I want to say it's about $3,000, and it's a lead source that actually we can find cash buyers all over the country. Costs, again, I think it's about $3,000 to get this software. But we would have no problem finding buyers for anything because we have access to this. But all they did is they did the work on the MLS that you can do on your own.
You could do on your own. If you have a farm, and I highly recommend having a farm as a wholesaler, just look up in a half square mile or 1 square mile, all of the most recent renovated homes, and find out who the investor was that flipped them, and write them down, look them up, do whatever it takes to make them a part of your list.
What about,
Lenders are a great resource too. They can be creative. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I raised my hand. What about the other realtors or successful realtors? Do you ever bring them in the loop to?
At the REI Investment Club meeting, I met up with a realtor who brought me a cash buyer.
And what kind of splits are you giving other realtors? Typical?
It's a deal by deal basis. I made like $2,000 on that deal. Very, very small amount. He got the commission, he listed it, and I think he's probably, he made a commission, and then he's going to list it when the home is renovated. So he got a better end of the deal.
Are you pulling all the money to one LLC, or do you have multiple LLCs since you just flipping the deals and you're not holding them? You just have like one company, or are you, when you put a deal on the contract, before you do it, are you looking like, okay, well, which company I'm going to put this in? Or do you just have like, you guys just recommend like just have one company?
As a wholesaler, yes, just one is fine. Some investors that actually flip these homes, they open an LLC for each property.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I mean, I understand from like maybe a paperwork and tax perspective why you would want to do that. Maybe more if it's a development, you're gonna be in that property for a long time, 2 years, at the most. But on a quick flip, I mean, the best thing to have is an S corp. LLCs really, and don't quote me on this, but LLCs don't offer you any sort of protection beyond being a self-proprietor. It's just a separate entity. S corps have that corporate veil. They have tax benefits, so you don't pay double Medicare, Social Medicare, Obama tax.
But as course you pay ongoing fees, I mean, annual, right? Just to keep it.
Yeah. As an LLC, you have to pay an ongoing fee. You have to pay your statement of information. You have to pay $800 to the state franchise tax board as well.
So how much does it cost, or what do you suggest or advise to get incorporated?
Once you're creating income, because I didn't have a corporation until 2016. I was kind of, I guess naive. I didn't think I was going to get any. I still haven't, been sued, but the time will come.
Hope not.
Facebook postings.
Matt,
Yeah,
you see the hard money lenders on there?
yeah.
So let's comment on that. So what do hard money lenders, who do they work with? Investors, right?
Investors.
So
Huge resource.
you can't find a buyer. One of the best resources is to call a hard money lender because they're going to have a buyer. So
Yep.
if you're struggling, that's who you call because they want the hard money loan, so they'll give you a buyer.
Yeah. And if you make friends with some of these guys, they're going to educate you as well. I saw a deal yesterday in Lake Isabella that was, I talked to Sam about it. It was like a purchase of $120,000 and it was renting for like $1,250. It's a good GRM. It's an 8 gross rent multiplier, which means in 8 years you would have paid off the whole investment. But he said there was a drought recently that almost dried up Lake Isabella.
Wow.
And imagine all the tourism, the outflow. I mean, it was just the town the commerce would crumble. And you only want to buy out there if it's like a $50,000 or a cheap $60,000 investment, not on a $120,000 investment. Too risky. So he dissuaded me from buying that one, or locking it up to wholesale even. This is an important way to qualify your buyers. Get the questionnaire out to them, have them write exactly what their criteria are. You want their phone number, their contact information, types of properties, areas, price. How many deals have they done? Vet them. How many deals have they done in the last 90 days? 6 months. How quickly can you close? If anybody tells you that they're a cash buyer and they can't close in under 15 days, they're not a cash buyer. They're a wholesaler, at best. What's a good deal? You want to know percent of value, minimum profit. For a cash flow buyer, ask them, what's your minimum GRM? It's a great way to find out. Gross rent multiplier. What levels of repairs are you comfortable with? Are you only doing light fixers, heavy fixers? Do you do burnouts? Do you do foundation problems? You know, foundation work is that's a good niche because a lot of buyers are afraid of those types of deals. It's under the house. Most of the time, they're not going to go look under it. They're afraid of the unknown. But if you have a good foundation repair expert, you can find great deals that way. Different techniques for wholesaling. All right, so I think I'm running a little bit behind. This is important. So what are you going to do if it's an REO or a short sale or a standard sale? Because each one may require a different method. The first one, which most buyers are comfortable with, is the assignment contract. We'll get into what that means exactly. There's a double escrow, transactional funding, A to B and B to C. And then the best method and the secret sauce of Mr. Sam Weaver is the add to the contract. It is the best way to wholesale. Everybody get that?
No.
Well, we're going to cover each one individually, so. All right. So this is a typical assignment contract. Essentially states that you, the contract holder, are conveying your interest in a property to said entity. And it outlines what your fee will be, your assignment fee, the names of the new owners. Some say assignor and assignee. Anybody ending with the suffix or is the one who gives, and the E is the one who's receiving. $1,000 EMD, $1,000. Good job. It's a very small EMD. If you can get away with that, awesome. So, anybody know an example where you can't use an assignment contract?
REO.
What was that?
An REO.
REO? Any others? Correct.
Options like
Yeah, auctions you can't. You need a cashier's check to secure it in the first place. In full. Short sale. Correct. There's a seasoning period. Well, there's rules that don't allow you to assign your interest. Once you go under contract as a buyer, you have to close. Otherwise, they'll cancel. Asset managers, short sale agents, they're not going to mess with that stuff. So the double escrow is available in that scenario, where you will close for a very, very short period of time, a matter of minutes usually, where you're your buyer. It goes from seller to buyer B, and then buyer to buyer C. They should close on the same day by definition in order to be a double escrow. Otherwise, you're just basically two separate escrows. The buyer will fund both escrows. Anytime you're doing in my opinion, if you're doing a double escrow, transactional funding, which we'll get into, adding the buyer to the contract, you kind of want to have done business with these buyers before. So if they don't know you, they've never done any transactions with you, it's more complicated, and there's a little bit more risk on their end. So you want to be warmed up to them, and they're going to know exactly how much you're going to make. For example, Santa Monica, we did a double escrow. Why? We didn't want the seller to know how much we were making. We didn't want them to see. Eventually, they could have seen if they checked on title. But more specifically, we didn't want the wholesaler to know how much we were making, because I knocked him down to 1.4 million, and he was running to the bank with a grin for making 100 grand as a wholesale fee. We were making 5 times that, So we wanted to close escrow, so he was paid out, the seller got their money. Simultaneously, we closed a second one. And our buyer was very comfortable doing throughout that entire process. Excuse me. So to reduce your liability, there's this thing called, as a wholesaler, there's this thing called transactional funding. It's a very, very short-term loan that allows you to fund your deal without the buyer doing it for you. It's just a little different than a double close. And the deeds will not record on the same day, usually when you're using transactional funding. Whoop. they charge hefty points for these types of transactions. I kind of would like to be a transactional funder maybe one day, because it's a really quick turnaround. 1 to 2%, 1 to 3% usually on the total loan amount. And here we go, adding to the contract, the don't shake the tree method. It's illegal to remove somebody's name from the vesting on a contract, but you can always add another person's name to that contract. Oftentimes on my contracts, I'll write junkers, 2 joules, or assignee. That's a smart way if you're going to do the assignment contract. But you can always, without flustering an REO agent, a short sale agent, or anybody, if you're adding somebody's name to the contract, and simply at the close of escrow, you're going to give them 99% of vesting, and you're going to hold on to just 1%. And then you're deeding yourself off at the end, after escrow has closed. Here's a finder's fee agreement. Pam Weaver, just the property address, the compensation, close of escrow. Very simple, not complicated. I've used this many, many times. I've actually used this as a bird dog. So, you know, when you have leverage and you're in control of a property that a buyer has no access to except through you, you can charge him as much as you want, if he's willing to pay for it.
So, you know, what we saw, you know, early on is we saw the fee was always like 5, 10 grand. And what we're noticing, you just said that someone bought a property for 78, and you're paying
105.
I've noticed over the last few years that fee has increased dramatically. Same here. I mean, we're able to charge $30,000 on a wholesale fee, and we don't have to you don't have to hire a contractor. So I mean, the fees have gone up. I mean, that was a standard thing we saw often back in, you know.
It's like a courtesy, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like leave enough meat on the bone for the buyer.
Yeah.
Don't go for the home run. I read old books on wholesaling. Just hit a bunch of singles, you know, just hit singles. And now these guys are just hitting triples left and right. And it's where we are in the market, guys. It's hard to find, investors are hard pressed to find juicy deals to flip. So when they get something that has decent margin, they don't care how much the wholesaler's making. So in a lot of ways, it's almost better to be a wholesaler than a flipper, if you're able to get these deep discounts. Would I rather take 20 grand than flip the house and make 40 grand if I can do it in 3 weeks? Maybe, depending on the risk, depending on the area. You got to weigh your options. You know, if you've got something else better in the pipeline, just take the quick dime over the slow nickel.
You correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that as a wholesaler, you're really not exposing yourself at all, right? I mean, to any risk, are you?
Well, there's very little risk, right? Liability is limited in the sense of anything going wrong with the house, you know, you don't need homeowners insurance, you don't need to, you know, you don't have to worry about being sued by a buyer down the road because you did something without permits or illegally. But there's still, as these deals become more sophisticated, there's always some liability that you're taking. If you're misrepresenting somebody, that's still.
Maybe I'm missing something, but as a wholesaler, you're just basically linking a buyer to seller, right? Are you taking ownership?
As a wholesaler, unless you're using a double escrow or a transactional fund and adding your name to the contract, which is a very, very minimal interest in a home, you're not taking title. 99% of guys do the assignment contract because everybody's familiar with it, and all you need is the seller to sign an agreement. And here's the conversation that I have. We use 6 different LLCs. We have a hedge fund. We pull from different funds depending on the area, depending on the type of project. So this is a sister company of ours. We're just going to close in this name. And they're okay.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So the assignment, most people are using it, but what, in your experience, has been the opinion of realtors when you say you're going to wholesale a property?
They don't like it at all, obviously. Right. They think, oh, okay, my reputation is at risk. I'm representing both this buyer and the seller, and so if I'm bringing in somebody that's just messing around and tying things up, and things could get, if they put a deposit in and they don't close, things could get locked into escrow for indefinitely, maybe, a year at times. So a lot of Wholesalers get a really bad rap with agents. If you're a good wholesaler, they'll never know you were one. That's the idea.
Have you, Matt, experienced the homeowner that freaks out yet on an assignment? Someone tells me you're very proactive with homeowners, which has been a blessing to you. You haven't had a homeowner freak out on you and say you're charging this much money on top?
I can't think of anybody in particular. I'd have to really think back
So
at a time.
I understand realtors feel like, well, I could have got that much more for the homeowner, so they feel like you're taking away from a homeowner.
Right, the realtor
That's kind of
definitely.
the perspective, right?
The seller just wants to know that somebody's going to close. And once you do close, even the realtors will be fine with it.
They just don't think it's going to close and it's going to waste their time.
They're assuming the worst and not preparing for the best. Al?
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Are you using any online marketing to get the leads besides, you know,
Besides bandit signs and
Yeah.
all these caveman marketing forms?
all that secret stuff?
I guess indirectly, if I put posts on my Facebook or Instagram and taking photos of a property, hey, here's a project that I'm doing, you know, check it out. I'm into flipping properties right now, and so if my friends take a look and they'll call me, yeah, but not specific. You know, I don't have a website. I don't have a drip campaign yet. I need to start doing that this year.
I think you're doing fine the way you're doing. But you're right.
Master your niche. Once you've done that, you know what's working. Scale your business out. Delegate. Teach somebody to do it almost as well as you can do it. If somebody's doing like 7s across the board, right? If you can do a 10 at something, but somebody can do a 7, C's get degrees in life, right? They're going to get the job done for you while you're working on what's more important. So here is a closing statement that you're going to see. And where is the wholesaler's money? Right here. Miscellaneous fee, Hamilton and Associates. $8,800. Additional disbursements. You can call it whatever you want. Miscellaneous fee keeps it nice and vague so nobody's going to freak out. Like, what is this?
So
It looked really, when it was $27,000 on my last closing statement, I was like, why couldn't I find this homeowner?
So with that particular one, I gotta be careful saying this, but if you have a relationship with a realtor you're working with, you can actually get part of the commission and a wholesale fee.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's lots of different ways to angle this in your favor. You don't learn that stuff right away. That's why it's real good to kind of work with someone who's done it a while. We talk about these trifectas, these other ways that we can create income for ourselves, not just a one hit.
Just don't get crazy, because I do know some agents that double-ended a transaction, and he also charged $60,000 assignment, and he ended up getting, and it was an elderly couple. he ended up losing a lot of money in court. Yeah. Elderly abuse.
License?
He didn't lose his license, fortunately, yet. Grant D. So this is your prime. This is mostly for your adding a name to the contract. You know, as the uninsured affidavit, preliminary change of ownership. This is things you're going to deal with as a buyer and somebody that closes, is vested in title at the close of escrow. You should be familiar with all of these things regardless. If you don't know what a grant deed is, you're going to not sound very polished in front of your buyers.
So real quick, Matt, let's talk about that. So if you're going to wholesale for the first time, or someone that does not have a relationship with you, and you ask to add them to the contract, it's going to get a little shaky, right? So as long as you know your stuff,
Right.
you can explain this, it's very simple. But you said, what's the one property you cannot, or two kinds of properties you can assign?
REOs and short sales.
Okay, and some of these short sale paperwork say you have to own it for 30 days.
Seasoning period.
So if you add someone to the contract, can you stay on there for 30 days before you deed off?
Sure.
Absolutely. Right?
That circumvents even that issue. And it doesn't shake the tree, so the agents aren't going to get all fussy about this because they're not going to know.
On short sales, are you guys able to negotiate with banks, in terms of negotiating a lower price than the asking, or are banks playing ball?
Definitely. We have to. You have to have certain buzzwords to be able to get the banks to come down. We teach that. It's
Fear of loss doesn't work, obviously.
what's that?
Fear of loss doesn't work, right? I mean, you can't.
The banks don't care if you know, they don't have fear of missing out. There's something specific that we teach that I can't tell you guys in this class.
It's another class. It's on short sales.
It's on short sales.
On short sales for,
Sounds like.
no, it's just team.
Think real hard, you might get it, or you might not.
There's definitely short sales lower. You just gotta.
Yeah, you have to have the
know exactly what you need to do.
correct.
Yeah.
Any questions at the moment? Go ahead.
So from
Andrew?
my understanding, why would the homeowner want to go with us instead of a realtor?
Because you're not charging fees, no commissions. You're telling them people aren't coming in and out of their house, no looky-loos. You're the buyer. Their lucky day, they're finding somebody that can close this deal for them. It's going to be done within 2 weeks. You don't have to wait. I need the money now. I need to liquidate.
30 to 45 days, and then it could fall out of escrow and all those.
There's risk. You're going to go open escrow. There's loan contingencies. With cash, you're going to look at it. You're going to get a contractor in, and after that's done, you should know within 24 hours if you're going to move on the property or not. And build that confidence in the seller to know that this is the protocol. Very simple.
Are there any night and day differences when you're dealing with 20 units, 100 units?
You just
I mean, just off the top.
the more sophisticated the transaction, the more you have to know. It all comes down to who you know, most importantly, and then what you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody that's selling you a 20-unit property has probably been in business for quite some time and has done a lot of transactions. So, like Sam, he was sophisticated. He told them, look, not only am I going to close this transaction for you at the set price, but I'll manage the property, or I'll manage the property for the buyer on the back end. And so just adding value to the transaction, to both sides of the equation, both seller and buyer.
If you're a realtor, can you do wholesaling, and how do you work out tax? How do you handle it?
You can. You can do a wholesale transaction and a commission in the same transaction. So, I mean, you just have to be wise about it. Don't be greedy if there's a lot of equity. I think transparency is always, if you're a realtor, it's important. You have to, I don't know, Sam, what do you know?
Yeah, you gotta be careful because if things go bad, there's a lawsuit at hand.
Right.
You know, look, have we done it? Absolutely, we have. I mean, we're involved in a transaction right now where, and Janet, you know this, the realtors made 50 grand. I mean, they got their double in plus 30 grand.
Right.
Right? Is it dangerous? Yes. That's kind of how the process went, and that's what the requirement was. Yeah, it's a dangerous sport. I don't condone what they do, but that's what they were able to pull that off. So they got a double end at $375,000, and then they pulled in another $30,000 in the deal through the transaction. Now the margin was there to do that,
Right.
and obviously we were still able to make a good chunk of money too. So I mean, that was actually one of our students was able to make a good chunk of money on top of it.
If it's a win-win for everyone, go for it. My suggestion is go in as a cash buyer, and this is how I would go about it. We also have a brokerage as a part of our company. We could offer our money to renovate the home for you and sell it at top dollar, and now instead of me making that $50,000 profit, that profit for the most part belongs to you. But we use our brokerage to do that. Or third option is just put it on the market today and let's list it and see what kind of offer this seller's market yields. Giving those delineations, different options instead of blending it all together. Just be transparent, tell them what their options are. With a cash deal, you need to let them know that you need to make a profit, and you'll show them exactly what that would be and how it comes about.
Do you have a real estate license?
Yep.
Does that hamper you at all?
No.
I know there's certain things you can and can't say as a realtor necessarily.
It depends on what capacity you're working in, right? Am I buying the property all cash, then I'm just going to stay in that mode of thinking. You know, you just want to listen and feel what the seller's needs are. You know, like take what the defense is giving you as a quarterback. Don't force the play.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and Matt and I are gonna sit up here and we're gonna kind of walk you through this a little bit. I'm gonna leave you like that. Let's turn them off.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and review what you learned tonight, because that, for some of you that don't understand wholesaling, that's going to seem very foreign. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Like I said right here, you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? So let's kind of review everything, and then you and I will chime in with each other. So the first thing you do when you're a wholesaler is what? What do you think? You got to go purchase something to market yourself with. You guys got to get business cards. It doesn't matter what it says. It could say, I'm an ABC investor. Nobody cares, guys. Don't make them all fancy. Don't handwrite them, right? So I've seen people do that.
Let me see if I got
Yeah.
an old one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be special, but just go to Vista Print and go get the free ones. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody cares. You care, but nobody else does. Understand that. So you need some business cards. What else did we say you needed?
New ones.
You need a way to...
A phone.
But you just need a phone, right? Because the marketing materials are nice, but...
A smartphone.
A lot of what Matt's done over the years, you need a phone and a computer because you got to be able to analyze deals. You want to be able to do research on homes, so you got to learn how to do that. Zillow and Redfin, if you don't have MLS access, you got to start with what's free. Trulia, Redfin, and Zillow are there. They're free. You can do a little research, enough research to know if it's a deal or not. Okay? Understand the formula for flippers. I'm going to have you write this down. And most of them are they're breaking all the rules. But the rules are 75% of the after repair value, the fixed up value, minus what you assume rehab is what that person should pay for it. Understand right now in the marketplace, this is a seller's market, and people are breaking the rules. All right? They're breaking the rules. They're buying with an 8% cash on cash.
Going in, knowing that.
All right, what that means, so if they spend $100,000, okay, they expect to make $8 grand. If they spend $500,000, $40,000. That breaks our rules. We don't do that. If we spend $500,000 or $600,000, we want a 10% cap. If I buy a property for $400,000 and I put $100,000 in, I want to make $50,000. That's safe. They're breaking the rules. And so the great thing about that is we can pick them up at the 10% and we have a 2% margin to sell it to them.
Right?
So let's think about that. Let's do that on a large scale. All right, so if I buy at $400,000 and I know it's going to take, let's say, $100,000 to fix, we're going to keep our numbers simple. All right, that gives us how much of a margin? If they're at 8, they only want to make 40, we want to make 50, so we can charge a $10,000 fee. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right? So we're just going to eat up $10,000 that we would want to make and give it to them. They're okay making the 40. Let me repeat that. So if we buy at 4, it's $100,000 rehab. They're going to be at $500,000 on the buy-in. Total money out. And there's more to this, but we're simplifying it. We want to make 50. So it wouldn't make sense to us unless we made our 50, but they're okay making 40 because they're at 8%, we're at 10%. Does that make sense? So for every 100,000, they want to make 8. For every 100,000, we want to make 10. So now we separate that margin. We just walked with 10 grand on a deal that wouldn't really be a deal for us. So that's really nice if you need now money. So wholesaling money is quick, it's fast, you get it in 2 weeks. You're not waiting the 4 to 6 months to flip a property to make the 50. And what Matt's done is instead of making 50, he's making 30 without any liability, which is really, really special. And you've done that over and over. Let's talk about the one, and then we'll kind of go back to what you should.
Yeah, you know what? I think I opened this. I had another
you opened
slide.
the wrong PowerPoint, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
I was wondering what was going on there.
Yeah.
Weird next time.
Yeah.
But all right.
That's what we're here to talk about.
All right. So let's talk about the deal with Scott.
Scott, so okay, I got a call from, this is roundabout. A student from this company told me to call an agent on a property that's listed for 1.2 something million. I looked it up. I comped it out at max 1.5. And I said, there's no margin in this property to buy. But as a courtesy to the student, I'm going to call the realtor, explain why I'm doing it, explain what I'm looking for, and if he finds me anything, I'm going to give him the listing on the back end. A few weeks go by, that property listed for 1.2 has no offers except for one at 1 million flat. And he wants the guy's Corvette in the front yard as a part of the deal.
Which you can negotiate. You can negotiate that.
This happens to be the late great Al Jarreau, Jazz, his home in Al Jarreau.
That's what that name
It spells Jarreau. Oh yeah, that's right.
Shop for the mob spot.
It's crazy. His son. Well, it was a property in a trust, Al Jarreau. Beautiful home. I kept seeing like platinum records all over the walls, and I'm like, dude, look at, what is this? Where is this house? Anyways, I told them, look, the most I can go up to is $1,045,000. You can keep his car. I'll close this thing. I'm bringing my contractor. I'm gonna lock this thing up. Don't worry. This is a deal. I can get it done. Well, we bring Scott in, and the first thing his brother says is, oh yeah, this property's in nice, it's great shape. You know, this property's got great bones, potential. We don't have to do much to this thing. He's like, yeah, maybe 80 grand to fix it up. It's 3,200 square feet.
This is a contractor's opinion.
This is a contractor's opinion, and so now I'm getting excited. So I'm saying, okay, I'm into it for $1,045,000. Put in 80 grand. Probably won't sell for, you know, there's a property up the street on a cul-de-sac, literally like 6 houses down, that sold for 1.72. And I'm like, if I could sell this quick for 1.5, putting in less than 100 grand, it's a no-brainer. I'm just gonna get in and get out. Well, Scott came in the second time to look at it. This is our second appointment, and at this point I still haven't put the deposit into escrow. And I have a contract, and it's like day 2. You have 72 hours to put in your earnest money deposit. And they're letting me get in and out as many times as I need to.
Hold on. How many hours?
72.
How many days is that?
3 days.
3. You have 3 days to put your earnest money, or they can
Cancel it.
cancel or do a notice to perform. Most of the time they'll do a notice. But
Right.
Okay, so you got the 3 days. You haven't done your deposit.
I haven't done my deposit. They put it at $30,000 earnest money deposit. The second bid comes up. Sam's like, this vomit-colored marble countertop has to go. There's not enough lighting in this kitchen. This kitchen is cramped. For 3,000 square foot home, there's no way we can leave it this way. We'll probably have to take this wall out.
Hold on. So I came out there with you.
You showed up. You came all the way out from Fountain Valley to Tarzana, California, which makes my drive tonight look like nothing compared to that. So he showed up, but I think it was a Saturday, and so less traffic. Less traffic. He's casual. He's got his cargo pants and running shoes on, and anyhow, we walked the property, and long story short, there's no way we could have kept everything the way we originally thought could have been kept. And then you start having these question marks in your brain about, okay, well, if this, then it's probably going to be that. Then, and who are my buyers? What's my buyer pool? What kind of clientele am I appealing to? Well,
So let's talk about that. So you understand when you have a property under contract, especially in that area, if you're looking at selling it, are you in a neighborhood where it's Chinese buyers? Are you in a neighborhood, right? You got to think about, because what comes with Chinese? Feng shui. Got to think about that. Are you dealing with hipsters in Northeast LA, which you would be?
There's a whole nother ball game for that.
You got to do that study. You got to figure out who's going to buy it.
Was it Armenian buyers there?
There's Persian buyers. There are a lot of Chinese buyers. There are affluent people from all backgrounds, and affluent people are usually perfectionists. And so if any little thing is wrong, I can hear the Asian wife saying discount.
Anybody here Chinese?
Chinese, yes.
Nobody's Chinese in here? One thing I've learned about Chinese is they always want a discount. No matter what, they want a break. And you just learn that along the way. There's nothing wrong with it, you just have to your buyers.
I think that's great.
So I go there, we agree this is gonna cost a lot more money than we thought.
Yeah. Came up to, the next bid went from 80 grand, Scott generated a new bid at 173,000.
So way different, huh guys? Way different.
And when I looked at what had been done in the home that sold for 1.7, It was a minimum $250,000 renovation.
Wow.
Meanwhile, I'm still thinking 1.5, maybe 1.5 and a quarter. I'm getting it for $1,045,000. If we get into this thing and we start opening walls and where'd my margin go? Got a lot tighter. But I put it in my property analyzer. And I had all of these resources. I had educational conversation with the buyers that I was working with. I knew a lot about that property, and I talked about it from holding costs to hard money to everything that really made me sound educated, right? The more you know, the more you're going to earn in this business. And so I conveyed all of the homework that I'd done, and I sent my bids, and I sent my spreadsheets, and I looked at it from, this is going to make me 8%. Well, the buyer also believed that he's going to make a lot more than 8% on that particular transaction. Hence, he's got it listed today for $175,000.
How many months ago? That was 8 months. That was 7 months ago.
No, less than that. He bought it. Oh wait, what?
It's a while ago.
It was a little while ago. Yeah, it was. I would say probably 6, 7 months ago.
So at the end of the day, everybody wants to hear the number.
Right.
So what did you make on that?
So I wholesaled it. This was a co-wholesale. This is the guy who bought it, his name's Tony Hirschman. He was the CEO of Strategic Acquisitions in Ventura County. They buy properties all the way down to LA as well. He started his own company, and I talked to him. I had his contact information, but I knew somebody that works closely with my brother. It's a small world, and my brother currently works for Strategic, so Tony was his boss. And I decided to involve Tommy in this transaction. Unbeknownst to me, he helped Tony raise the capital necessary to close the deal. And so Tommy made $15,000. I made $30,000.
Wait. Hold on a second. What did you say?
Tommy made.
No. What did you? I don't care about Tommy.
I made 30 grand.
Tommy, yeah.
I made $30,000.
Wait. 30. Okay.
Wow.
Guys, you guys know I used to be a teacher. God bless teachers. But I made $72,000 a year after 10 years in a master's degree, and you made about half my salary on a non-deal that you weren't going to even do. High five, brother. That was crazy. Poor teachers. All right, anyway. I feel bad. I left that behind a long time ago. But anyway, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's kind of zone you guys back in. So you need business cards. Hopefully you have business cards. Those of you that are in here, you need a business card on some level. She made hers at Staples. I say Vista Print, right? It doesn't matter. You can theoretically you could print your own and do the cutouts. I just wouldn't do that. That's a little sloppy, and people don't take you seriously. Yeah. The other thing you need to do is you need to learn how to find deals. Are there not deals on every street?
Every street.
Once you get into this and you understand that, the only thing holding you back is you.
Effort.
Because those deals are there. I guarantee you get these two guys walking down any street door knocking, and maybe these two guys sometimes, and sometimes some other, we can get appointments for sure, and we can get deals regardless. It almost becomes too easy in time. And I know that sounds kind of
unrealistic at this point.
But it's that easy once you learn how. So you don't necessarily need to do bandit signs. You don't necessarily need to do all the money on the mailers. Just like Matt was doing the other day, drive for dollars. But the one thing you do have to learn how to do is sell. Because you have to go overcome objections with someone that's in distress. So you got to learn that part. There has to be. So if I'm you guys, I'm listening to some Zig Ziglar.
Yeah.
I'm listening to some self-motivation stuff on selling, how to close the sale. I'm listening to I'm still educating myself on this stuff. I listen to stuff all the time, books on tapes, or I have a whole library of this stuff, constantly filling my mind on, oh man, if they do this, I have to do that. Now.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Before we change the subject?
I wasn't going to change the subject.
You also have a smartphone in front of you, and you can record this man, anytime we're in front of a homeowner, at a door knocking blitz, at a meeting, at a homeowner meeting, and you're going to replay that on your car stereo on the way home, and hear the buzzwords, hear the hot buttons that Sam so eloquently presses on.
So, and Sal, you did a really good job of this. So he called a homeowner. So he has a deal right now where he called a homeowner and he goes, could you use, and you do it, the $200,000 thing with the pink house? So go ahead and say what you said.
I called him, we had knocked on his door.
This is a distressed homeowner. We know they're distressed.
And I love inviting people out to our overview so people can really know and understand that we're very transparent. We're not, hiding any secrets or anything like that. Come see what we're doing. So we knock on his door. He said, you know what? He wasn't in distress. The house was. Trust me, the house was. But he wasn't, and a lot of homeowners are in denial when it comes to their house, Oh, I'm good. No, I just fell through the porch. Anyway, so him and his family came out to the event and they saw what we were doing. So they still weren't in a place where they were desperate or it was and we always say that, and I said this to the homeowner I spoke to today, everybody's still one situation away from a catastrophe. And his daughter went off to Vanguard University, and then all of a sudden, these extra bills came, and he was in distress Now he's backed up, and now he started to get foreclosure paperwork. I just happened to call him because I like, re-following up with people. Fortune's in the follow-up. You'll hear us say that all the time.
The fortune's in the what?
In the follow-up.
Fortune's in the what?
Follow-up.
Everybody should be saying it.
Follow up.
In the follow-up. If you don't follow up, someone else will get the deal.
Now, I gotta tell you, you have to understand, if you're a student at Fortune Weavers Academy, stick with it. We're the only company doing hands-on. I'm telling you, walk you through the whole process. When I say stick with it, people just fall off right before they have success, and they miss out on that, and that's what happened with this particular house too. So anyway, I called him and I said, hey, look, I was just asking you, I don't know where you are and what's going on or whatever. I said, hey, but could you use an extra $200,000? Well, of course I can. And at that time, he was in Vegas with his son at a bowling tournament. And he said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, I have someone right now that will pay that for your house. And all he heard was, can I use a $200,000? He was like, well, we need to meet when we got back. We met with him. Sam and I met with him, took him out to lunch, sat down with him. Come to find out, he started getting pre-foreclosure paperwork, and he's backed up $31,000. So right now, today, on the way here, picked up the paperwork because we're literally doing a flip on his house with him as well. So that's what I did on the way here, and that's how that happened.
You said, just a simple question. If I could get you an extra $200,000, would you be willing to work with me? If I could, would you? It's a very simple statement, right? If I could get you an extra $200,000 cash right now, what would you do? That's not as much pressure.
I'll be jumping.
Right? You'd be jumping. Good. All right, let's bring it back real quick. So, you need your business cards. You need to find buyers. How do you find buyers? Buyers.
Oh, buyers. Still.
Well, you could call the hard money lenders. They're always going to have buyers. And there is a whole Google hard money anywhere. One of the other things you can do, if you let's say you find this house in Downey. We Buy Houses Downey, California. I guarantee you someone's going to have their webpage up and they're a buyer in Downey. That's another place you do it. I wholesale properties in the Midwest that in a place I'd never been because I just looked up We Buy Houses. I forget where it was. It was, I don't remember, somewhere in the Midwest. And there were 6 houses a guy needed to unload, and I got a buyer for it, and I included myself in on a fee. All right, so the buyers, drive around. There's people flipping houses. Look for recently sold houses where it says TLC, Fix Up, Bring Your Hammer, all those terms. They're on Zillow. You can actually do on Redfin or Zillow, you can put in those terms and you can find properties. Fixer upper, things like that. All right. So then then you find your deal, right? You drive for dollars, you see the really ugly house. What does an ugly house look like? What's the driveway? Could it have an asphalt driveway? Right? Asphalt, dirt driveways, cracked cement. How are the windows? What do they look like? Wood or aluminum usually, right? How about the roof?
It might be.
It could be weathered. Might have a tarp on it. Has patches, right? Stuff like that. 3 or 4 layers of shingles. You see that kind of stuff. How about tall grass in the front yard? Tons of mail in the mailbox. Lots of newspapers piled up. right? You know what I do when I see a lot of newspapers on the front porch? I always talk to the neighbor and try to get information. I go, hey, you make, and I do it, and I say, hey, there's a bunch of mail on that person's porch. Are they okay? Are you sure they're not dead? And maybe you've gone door knocking. I've done this. You guys have seen it. I go, I just want to make sure that person's okay, right? And then they start talking. Oh yeah, they never pick up their mail. They have a junkyard in the back and this and that. All right. So that's what, if I'm just starting out, that's the things that I'm doing. Now, here we're big on bandit signs. Bandit signs work, but they're expensive. And we have a deal where we get 100 at $1.65 a piece, and they're done in 2 days. Try to beat that. It's very hard to do.
Really good
that
deal.
took a lot of work to get. We have our own particular sign hammer. We had an inventor kind of invent for us. That goes up 17 feet. Well, if you're 6 foot tall, it goes.
Yeah,
It goes higher. Anybody can take
It
down.
goes
You
up
have the
10
frame.
feet, yeah. It goes up 10 feet.
Yeah, it's
It's a 10 foot long pole, isn't it?
6.5.
Oh, it's 6.5.
It
goes
goes
up-
up half and extends another.
Do the math.
And so you can get those signs really high. So that's another cool thing. Direct marketing, sending yellow letters. That's a great way. What was your first name? Is it Alan?
Al.
Al?
Yeah.
I have no idea how I remember that. It just popped in my head.
Yes, indeed.
What's my name? They refer to me as coach around here, but I'm blowing that on.
Well, how do you guys follow up with unsold sellers? Because I'm a big believer in email marketing. I see it work in my business. So
Yeah.
what do you guys use for the unsold sellers?
You're talking about cancellations and expireds?
The people who didn't sell to you. So you got to keep following up. So you guys email market them. You got people keep calling them.
Yeah, you do email marketing, and you have to have your follow-up calling.
So you
We
guys-
always have cell phone numbers. One thing we teach here, you gotta have their cell phone number. Absolutely.
Okay.
We can get anybody's cell phone number, we can get all the relatives' cell phone numbers.
Yeah.
We dig it up, man.
Like investigators.
Is it Merrick? Merrick.
Like Eric, but with an M.
All right. He was Al, and then they named him Sal. I don't know. Or mixed it up. Oh, he did not do that. Oh. I was making fun of him, not you. Oh. My whole life. All right. All right.
I don't know what the current policy is on this, but I always thought it was kind of a creative way of advertising it. Balloons that will fly, or used to fly. Dealerships seem to have these big, like, weather balloons that send up with a sign on top.
Are you asking me if I do that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you guys.
I have never done anything like that. I think that's a very expensive way to market. I'd much rather see you do like a banner like that somewhere on the side of a building that someone that you talk in is, hey, every deal I get, I'm gonna give you $50 or $1,000, whatever you work out. You can put signs on people's stores, right? It doesn't have to be big like that, but you can do a bunch of things like that. But putting up a balloon, hey, why don't you pay the airplane guy and do it in the sky, right? Fly across the beach. There's all kinds of different things you can do that are marketing. I'm a pretty frugal marketer because I want to make sure I beta test it, make sure it works, and that's why we use CallRail. He mentioned CallRail. CallRail allows us to have a bunch of different numbers, and we get to know what number's working. Now it's expensive. When you're starting out, you don't want to spend a bunch of money. CallRail is like $40 a month for 11 numbers. But I have 11 different numbers that I can identify with a different marketing piece attached to see what's working.
What's the name of the?
CallRail, and the neat thing about CallRail is you can text back from it and you're never gonna get busted by the bandit sign police. So like, first thing when someone calls, I immediately text back through the software, so it's CallRail. There's a few, what's the other one? There's Best Voice, Better Voice. Better Voice is another one. Google when you're
Voice
starting out,
is-
just do Google Voice.
Yep.
Yep.
Just get your one number, Google Voice. Yeah, it's free. Don't spend the money.
Aerosol murals, background in graffiti art.
And Grasshopper? Isn't Grasshopper one of them?
He's talking about murals. I don't know, man. You spend a lot of dough on marketing.
Seminar right there.
Luxurious marketing.
Hey, but I will say this: I've seen people use really creative stuff. Like Denisha did something like a bug thing that said, "I don't want to bug you," and it had like a butter. I don't know. She did creative, and it worked. And the guy called back, and he said, "No one." And she brought him flowers, and so a female brought the homeowner, who was a male, flowers.
Was she hot?
I'm never gonna say that on camera, and my brother-in-law's in the back room, so that's not gonna go tell your sister that I'm saying other women are hot. Anyway, no, but it worked for her, and that's something that's still, it hasn't come to fruition, but she's working on that relationship. Okay, so, go ahead.
So that's a really good idea about approaching somebody to put up a sign on the side, like of a building that they own or something like that. What would be like a reasonable fee to approach them with for that? Like how would you?
That's a negotiation.
It sure is.
As little as they are willing to take. Is that the best you can do?
Is that the best you can do?
This guy's, is that the best you can do? Look, for everybody, so what you want to do is fair. I'll tell you how I like to phrase it. So, what's, I can't see that far. Is it, Alfred? Alfredo or Alfred? Alfred, I'm going to pick on you tonight because I don't know you. And they've been picking on me, so I'm just going to return it to you.
Pay it forward.
What's the average amount if you were to be, so you know we have kids and those things, what's the average amount we spend at Christmas time? Usually some people put it on their credit card, but we allot a certain kind of or an amount of money that we spend at Christmas.
For 3 kids,
Yeah.
about $500. So all depends what,
Right.
when, you know.
Somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
I usually bump it up a little bit. I'll say, what's Christmas cost you? It's about $1,000. How about every time someone calls me and I buy that house, I give you $1,000? And I phrase it like this. How about I pay for your next Christmas? You don't have to spend any money at Christmas or even worry about the savings or any of that stuff. Use that money for the vacation. I'll buy your next Christmas. See, you put it in. Sometimes
Paint a
I
picture.
can say, and if there's a conflict of interest where they go, oh, you know, I can't take money because of this, I get in trouble. Well, I'll donate the money to your favorite charity. I'll donate $1,000 to your favorite charity. How about we do it that way? See the difference? That changes the mindset. Because maybe they can't receive the money, they feel like it would be the wrong thing to do. Maybe it's the store manager, not the owner, that's letting you do it. You can put a bandit sign in their window that says, we buy houses cash. Put it off to the side.
What about car wrap?
Car wraps?
Car magnets?
Her other half has a big old car wrap that says, we buy houses cash. You guys, did you write assignment down? So your question now is, well, where do I get the paperwork? Well, escrow will actually draw that up for you in many cases. They've already done them if they're experienced. They know what an assignment contract is. In the times I've assigned contracts, I'm not a big fan of it, and that's why we developed the don't shake the tree thing. I'm not a fan of it because I've had a homeowner really get mad at me because they felt like I was dishonest because I went in and I never said I was going to wholesale it. It was a house that was actually on the market, and when he found out I was wholesaling with the assignment, because the assignment, they have to sign off on it.
Right.
And they got really upset, and I almost lost the deal over it.
Does the assignment contract impede their ability to sell to the
I don't know.
market? Or?
No, doesn't do anything. All you're doing is you're giving up your rights to the title of that. You're assigning your rights to that contract to another buyer. That's all it is. It's very simple. It's easy to do.
But in a way, it kind of does limit it because a new buyer may not want you to be attached to it, right? I mean,
You're not attached. You give up your rights to that contract through escrow. You're not on title. You never record on title.
It's a clean break.
Yeah.
It's very easy. Now, understand that the rules are changing in different parts of the country. We didn't talk about this. It's not illegal, but in Ohio it is. And other states are starting to crack down because you're negotiating a contract and you've never taken ethics like a realtor would do. You're negotiating a contract without being licensed. And I guarantee you California will follow because we are one of those states that has high regulation. So at some point it will be illegal to do an assignment of contract. It will not be illegal to not shake the tree.
But if you have a real estate license, then you're good, right?
As a realtor, well, can you wholesale?
Well, I mean,
It's gray. It's gray. I had my attorney, or our attorney, look it up. It's very, very gray. And it depends on who's hearing the case. The key thing is, you just want to disclose what you're doing.
Right.
If you disclose, full disclosure protects you. But when you're sneaky and you're doing things on the sly, that's where you get in trouble. We just had a situation. Wholesaled a deal in Costa Mesa. And I referred a contractor to the person who bought it. And this person who bought it decided not to pull permits. And they took out a load-bearing wall, supposedly put up a beam. I don't know. I wasn't involved in the process. And now that roof is failing 2 years later, where they took out the wall, and now they're looking to sue or fix the situation. So I had to have and who do you think the realtor came to? They thought I bought it, but I didn't, right? I wholesaled it.
You did a good job.
Right? So nobody knew what was kind of going on. I wholesaled it, so the realtor comes to me and wants the seller to talk to me, but I'm nowhere on the contract.
reference to LLC, right?
What's that?
Reference to LLC. for the
Yeah.
brokerage.
Yeah, the way it worked out was really, yeah, anyway. So, again, look, I was able to remove myself from the liability in a situation that could have been ugly. So lesson learned, pull permits. Always pull permits.
That part.
Nobody got hurt though, right?
No. That's a whole nother conversation. Have I seen a lot of contractors get hurt? Yeah, I have a picture on my phone with one of my contractors with his finger cut off. Yeah, it happens. I've had a contractor shoot himself in the neck with a framing gun. It ricocheted and hit him right here. Yeah. Yeah, bad stuff. So you do enough of these over the years, bad stuff happens. It's just the way it goes. So yeah, it's just the way it goes. Okay.
You use, you have already contractors in place, or are you guys looking for additional contractors?
Always looking for contractors because we're always getting rid of them. It's like this rotation thing.
Revolving door.
Did I picked on Alfred already, so okay, we got you. Okay. Oh, I gotta see Cleo? Oh, I'm gonna prepare you, it's coming. All right. So the assignment, number 2. What was the second one? Double escrow. Do you guys understand what that means? They close at the same time, right? It's the same day. It's hard to do in LA County because LA County doesn't fund and record the same day. So theoretically, we're kind of not doing double closes unless we get a special exception. But LA County, for whatever reason, doesn't fund and record the same day. So normally when we fund in Orange County, it records that same day. LA, when we fund, they wait till the next day. So there's money at risk for one full day. That can get scary in a situation where you don't know who you're selling to. Depends on how it works. Okay, so it's not truly a double escrow, and that's why a lot of escrow companies don't like them. It's starting to, you have to find escrow companies that are okay with it. You ask some escrow companies if they do have double escrows, they'll go, not a chance. They think it's illegal, and it's not. And that's in California. In the Midwest, they do it all day long. The third one, transactional funding. All right, so transactional funding. Somebody else is funding your purchase from A to B. They're using the money, they're charging points. They want it in and out in under a week. So they're charging 2 to 3 points for using their money for 5 days. So if I borrow $500,000 for 5 days and it's 3 points, how much am I paying? 15 grand. And if I'm trying to wholesale that deal, I better have gotten a really good deal. Part of why we came up with the don't shake the tree thing was because we were trying to wholesale REOs and short sales and things like that, and they had these anti-assignment clauses and anti-seasoning clauses. And so it's like we were scratching our head trying to figure out how do we get away with this because we still want to wholesale. You still want to wholesale. When you're a flipper, you need now money. The flips if you only get 1 or 2 flips a year, it takes too long. So if you can get a couple wholesale deals, that kicks in the money, and then you don't have to go find a job at night, right? You have to think about it like that. It's the now money. So if you could do 3 of the 30,000, make 90 grand like he did, right? If you get a good one, you make the 200. Now, those of you in this audience that are visiting for the first time, I want you to understand how rare it is to make 500,000 on a wholesale deal. I have never done it. The most I've ever made was 100, and the property had major foundation issues. But I know how to fix foundation issues, so I had all that packaged together so my buyer wasn't nervous about it. Because a house with really big jacked up foundation scares everybody. But if you can package it and you already have your foundation repair guy, you have your bid, they know exactly what they're getting. The foundation guy, he guarantees it for 50 years. Wow. Easy, right? That's easy to package and wholesale. So to get 100, so we got one at $975 wholesaler for $1,075,000 in 3 weeks. Remember, $72,000 as a teacher with 10 years and a master's degree. $100,000 not knowing much about anything, right? Didn't need a degree for that, did I?
No.
That degree did me nothing. Don't tell my dad that. He gets all mad when we talk about that. He thinks that education is real important, which it is. It is.
This is education.
This is education, right? This is your learning. Here's another class. All right. So, and then my favorite, so we got assignment, double escrow, transactional funding, and my favorite, it's probably a lame name, don't shake the tree. And the reason why we said don't shake the tree, because no one gets all shooken up, right? Because they get all shook up when they find out you're wholesaling. So this is the secret sauce, and nobody knows what you're doing. You're wholesaling, the realtor doesn't know, the homeowner doesn't know, nobody knows what you're doing. You're silently going in, adding someone to the contract, deeding yourself off for your money. After it closes, you're all good.
Mr. Incognito, right?
It's incognito, and it's wonderful because no one will know what's going on. Now, when you close, so the question realtors ask you, why would you add someone to the contract? Oh, it's my financial partner. They're coming in with the funds. I don't have any money in the deal, right? Give yourself a 1% ownership, give them 99, because there is a level of property tax for the time you own it, right? So if you're at 1%, it's not going to cost you much if you only have it for 3 to 5 days or something like that. It's no big deal. Even 30 days might cost you $100. But if you're making 30 to pay 100, I do it all day long. I trade $100 for 30,000 all day long.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I have not done a shake the tree method. Now, I just listened to you say, deed yourself off for the money to get paid. Do you usually get paid outside of escrow on those deals?
I do.
Yeah, because if you take his money in escrow and you're still at closing, you can technically hold him hostage, right?
Yeah.
So
you don't give up the deed. You don't give them the deed until you get your check.
That's right.
Understand that? That's an exchange. I'm going to give you this deed, so I won't be a part of this, because he can't sell or she can't sell the property without my permission if I'm on that title. So you hold them hostage. Here's the exchange. I want my 20 to 30 grand, and you're going to go make 50, 60, 100 or something like that, right? Okay. I want to talk about something else you guys can do. There was a thing on there about auction properties. You realize you can pick up properties at auction and sell them to people through the process, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we just did one recently. It was really clever. We off an auction.com type of thing, we bought a duplex. All right? You with me? It's important to be licensed so you can get the commission, because they pay out a 2.5% commission. All right, so let's just say it's 500,000, you're getting 2.5% of that. What is that? Come on, everybody.
1250.
12,500? Everybody say 12,500 on an auction? I haven't even wholesaled it yet. And then we wholesaled it for another 30,000 or something like that. So how much have we made? 42.5? Huh, that's pretty sweet, isn't it? And then you can manage it if you're in property management, and then you can get yourself, if you're building portfolios for people, you can get yourself on equity if you're smart. Look, we have a student in our group that is a realtor that brought us a deal in the same type of community, same type of deal for 700,000 that we could pick up for 400,000 to 500,000. Their rents are 3,500, ours are above 4. Half the price, guys. You don't think that person buying those properties would be willing to give you some equity because you're that good? Then you're building long-term wealth.
Yeah.
You're building future wealth,
Mailbox money.
right? Remember, this business is all about getting out of the rat race. When do you get out of the rat race?
When your income from the business replaces your job.
Passive income replaces
Your expenses.
expenses and liabilities. All right, we had a student that did this in Barstow. She bought 10 properties in Barstow with the Burr method. Anybody know what the Burr method? Anybody can tell me?
Buy,
Buy, rehab, rent, repeat, right?
And repeat, yeah.
So she did this in Barstow with 10 properties, completely out of the rat race. And she did it with the same money over and over and over. The same allotment of money over and over and over, without having to go use new money. That's a whole nother technique though. Okay,
We teach that though.
we do teach that as a class. All right, so those of you that are visiting here, this is one of our classes that we teach. And so we do this once a month. We open up our house to you. That's why we're talking to the Fortune Weaver students, but those people that are here just visiting, this is kind of our open house where we do this once a month. You're welcome to come to a free class once a month. There's 36 classes in our curriculum. There's a lot, okay? Wholesaling is a wonderful one because you can make a ton of money. When I met Matt, he was already wholesaling and he was killing it. And all we did here is we put a lot more tools in his toolbox, and now he's doing a lot more things, right? And growing his business. But let's open it up for questions because you've done a ton of wholesales, I've done a ton of wholesales,
Let's do it.
right? So,
I'm gonna put on my coat and get a little cold.
Sequoia. Sakara. Ready, Sequoia? I really like Sequoia trees, Sakara.
Sequoia?
See? Merrick, whatever, mess me up.
Right.
Leo, don't think I'm not gonna get you,
When
man.
the house is in a trust.
Say that again, because I was too busy messing with her. What?
When a house is in a trust, like I look it up on Property Radar
Okay.
and it's already in a trust.
Okay, it's real simple. If you look at Property Radar, the biggest mistake homeowners do is they take it from their first name and they put it in the last name, and that's their trust.
Right.
So just figure out who the name was prior, or the prior transaction. That's who you're gonna look up.
Okay.
So for example, my name's Sam Weaver,
Right,
right? You would see the Weaver Trust, the
Right.
Weaver Family Trust.
right.
Look at who was it before. It was Sam Weaver. Look up Sam Weaver. That's who you got to talk to. Now, if that person's dead, you'll see a D. There's a title after it. It's like DJ something. There's a 4-letter acronym, and I'm drawing a blank on it. But that document gets recorded and it shows that somebody died. That gets a little trickier. You got to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
DOJC.
Because I have one where the house has been abandoned for a year.
Mm-hmm.
The mailman confirmed that the gentleman had passed, but when I look it up on Property Radar, it's still under the gentleman's name who passed.
Right. So you got to do a little bit more digging.
Okay.
You might have to skip trace that one, because when we skip trace, we get all the family members.
But even if I had been in it for a year, like that, well, I don't know, I'm going off.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right.
All right. Okay, any other questions?
Merrick had a question.
I'll turn my call. No.
That's a statement.
Not a question. This is Jeopardy. Can you rephrase that in the form of a question, please?
That's still a statement.
Well, I've been in jury duty all day, so I haven't had a chance to answer anybody's calls. So.
2 days.
All right,
Next question.
Gloria.
It's a lot of information real fast.
No, I don't have.
So you're a realtor, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so wholesaling probably like, I don't know if I like it. Okay, you gotta get that out of your head. Wholesaling is a very fair thing. What you need to find out is what is someone willing to take for their house that's fair. Everything we do here is fair. We're not gonna try to shark anybody. But we know people are willing to pay a premium, they just can't get access to that deal because they don't have someone marketing, they're not doing the marketing. Matter of fact, we both know another real estate investor that would never knock on a door, doesn't do the marketing, he relies on people like us. Right?
He does a decent job at it.
Yeah.
You build a sphere of influence. It's, marketing is important. After you've been doing it for a while, you're gonna have so many contacts of people that are in your phone, that are in your database, in your CRM, hopefully, that you can just tap into.
Hold on. Yeah. Gloria, what's a CRM? No, wait. Oh. Cleo, right? So I'm gonna leave you alone. I already bugged you. Do you know what a CRM is?
I just, right now, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, so we'll help you out.
I know it's a managing your contact list.
Very good.
It's an automated, how to help you.
It's an app.
Perfect. It's called a contact management, or it's
Contact.
Client relationship management.
Relationship management.
Yeah.
Right. So it's software that where you keep all your clients and you set yourself on reminders, drip campaigns for emails. I use LineDesk. That's my favorite. A lot of guys are using Insightly. Some are using Outlook. Use what you have. We spend the money on stuff because I can send videos through that and I can send text and all those things. That's why I like LineDesk. And it's relatively inexpensive, a couple $100 a year.
It's not bad.
Yeah. And it caters to our business.
I like that with LineDesk, when you set a reminder to call somebody to follow up the next morning. Literally, I'm walking my dog and my phone's ringing and I see the 954 Florida area code. The computer's calling me to say this is a reminder. Hit 1 to be connected to the person you're following up with. I'm like, nice. So you could set up like a 10, a 1015,
225, something like that. Yeah. No, 225 a year.
You can pay for it for the year or pay for it monthly.
So I like to do mass marketing or mass emails, and the thing that it does is it does a dashboard every day, and I can see who's opening up my emails. So I get to see who's paying attention to students. I see who's doing what.
We should do a LineDesk class.
We should do a LineDesk class. Okay.
He says similar to Salesforce?
More questions?
Similar.
We got 5 minutes left before we kick you all out. I'm kidding. Any questions? Man, you got a whole bunch of questions. You're good. I love it. No, it's good. Hold on, I can't hear you. We got some sidebar over there. Oh boy.
Your involvement, us being here, we're going to obviously trade information or trade tools, maybe share tools. What is your guys' typical cut? Do you guys expect to go on deals with us, or do we pass a deal to you?
Are you talking about? We're not here. We're not really selling the academy just to be a part of the class. If you were, that's a whole nother conversation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that type of thing, that's a private conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
Or talk to Sal. He'll talk your off about it.
Yeah, because this is not kind of like.
You can come on the 27th.
Yeah.
The real estate presentation I've been to, usually groups like this, they expect a cut, or they want to give you just a percentage. They just want you to bring in the deals, right? So they can help them and then use all their resources. The reason I ask this is that I met a broker once he owns like 3 commercial Century 21 offices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very well. He had me writing offers for him. And then when I get the deal, it would basically have to use all of his resources. And he was charging an arm and a leg, but the premise was this. You bring me a deal, I'll use my money and my resources, but we split the profits 50-50. But unbeknownst to me, all of his resources were basically hyperinflated. So
Yeah.
At the end of the
Easy to
day,
do.
you have a great deal, but the net profit will be 7,000, 5,000, and we split that 50-50. That's just ridiculous. So that's why.
You gotta figure out who you're gonna be. We all started out as kind of bird dogs. Even when I got mentored by my guy, I was really just a bird dog to him. Right? I brought him value. But in exchange, I got education that led me here. And I'm at a point where I've done hundreds of flips. Right? So you gotta understand there's gotta be a sacrifice, there's gotta be an exchange. Nobody's just gonna give you stuff. This is a free class, we don't expect anything. And this is something we've always done. I've met people that are a part of our academy now that I just met through a meetup and never expected anything. I've been doing that for years. I do believe in giving back. One of my favorite people that I follow is Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie gave away 90% of his wealth. And I love that. He's the one that sponsored the book Think and Grow Rich. He had Napoleon Hill write that. You guys know anything about Andrew Carnegie? He was the steel industrial tycoon of his time, right? I mean, but he wanted to give to the average person what he had learned. That's what I loved about that. And I'm all about underdogs. If you ever get to know me, you'll notice that's what I'm about. Yeah. And you got to be willing to pay it forward. And my mentor taught me, and what he told me to do is I needed to pay it forward. And so that's kind of what we do here. So but that's a whole other conversation. The Academy so we don't know. We don't have any expectation from you right now, or what you. So that's again. If you want to talk to Sal about that, he'll talk to you.
I guess I don't know if you can announce it, but just how can where do you guys need the most help? How can we as a group help you guys?
I don't think we need any help, but no, honestly, we're. And I understand what you're doing. You're trying to provide a service, and I think that's a good thing to ask. Do we need help?
Contractors.
Contractors.
Yeah.
We need contractors.
A lot of contractors.
They're a dying breed in our. We fired another one yesterday. It was like, oh yeah, caught him lying. Caught him lying.
I kind of do that on the side.
Oh shoot, the truth's coming out.
I see this camera panning like 3 times.
I also am stuck at a few properties that I want to buy. Actually, I want to sell a couple of them and get a duplex, but triplex. I'm living in one of these, or I don't know, something. I'm just getting tired of where I live. I can't qualify for another loan because I'm over leveraged.
Yeah.
So
It's another
It's a common problem.
yeah.
Common problem. What you have to become is the master of raising capital. Okay, if you can raise money and people, so I've had a long track record of raising capital and not losing it for people, and so that becomes easier over time. What these guys do is they use borrowed credibility. They borrow my credibility to raise capital here, and so that's kind of what we do for our students. If you want to raise capital, find someone that's already doing it and piggyback off of them. Find someone that's already kind of flipping or already raising capital and just kind of piggyback off their experience.
Hope they drop $1 million.
No. You just have to, when you're getting into this business, you have to attach yourself to someone with experience or you're going to take some hits. You absolutely will take some falls. And those falls one bad fall. Okay, and I'm going to sit here, guys, I'm going to tell you some bad, so those of you visiting that, I've lost $80,000 on a deal before. How many of you can take a hit of $80,000? You can. Now, the only reason why that didn't hurt me is because I was doing so many flips.
Right.
See, I've always been a guy that's done a high volume, right? So I can get hurt on one. Remember, we're talking, I'll tell you this property. This property was in Cyprus, and my contractors that I was, with contractor issue, I had a realtor talk me into using his contractors. They took out a load-bearing wall on a 2-story house and decided to go upstairs and start jumping up and down. And the noise was so loud it echoed throughout the neighborhood, and the code enforcement was called, and they
Flagged it.
Flagged that house, maybe put a fence around it, red tagged it, so I couldn't. So now my investor didn't lose money, but I ate that because that's the right thing to do. Because if I lost money for an investor, guess what's on the internet? Don't do business with Sam Weaver, right? So yeah, so that's one thing, I had to eat that. And you get these curveballs along the way. That's why I always say find someone that's doing it and attach yourself, because they're going to help you they're going to help you with wisdom to not make the mistakes. Because the one mistake can just do you in. Talk to anybody that went through the crash in 2008. Right? It did them in, and then it took 10 years to recover. Okay. Any questions over here? So we have Jen. Any questions? You got us for a few more?
Cleo's got one.
It's not so much a question, it's
Yeah.
just, I guess, a statement of observation here.
I got you.
I see how much I don't understand, just by all just the lingo, the words here, that I could have stopped you every so often and said,
Yeah.
what's that?
What's
Right.
ARV?
What's that?
Right.
You know, just all the
Acronyms.
yeah, the acronyms and everything, you know. You know, what I heard, yeah, I like the wholesaling thing, but it just, every time you went back to something, my mind was, well, what's that? You know.
Well, wholesaling is a process not going to be taught in 2 hours.
I mean, I'm talking about the whole
Yeah.
real estate, the whole
Yeah.
financial part, but there's so many different options
Sure.
that I would have never had a clue,
Hey, Coach,
it's like, it's really interesting.
do we still give out that acronym, that staple?
No, we did away with that, but no, the real estate investing is a language. The same way if I were in engineering, there's a language that goes with engineering that I don't understand a thing, right? So this is a niche that has its own language. So once you learn the language, it becomes when we throw around like POF and EMDs and stuff, right? Today I was in jury duty and she was using legalese. And then she had to apologize, the judge did, because she was going so fast, and we're like, wait a second, right?
What just happened?
That's her language. That's what she's used to on a daily basis. So it's just about being around it long enough to where you learn that. Just like if you were to learn any other. But the thing with real estate is it's kind of the basis of most wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, most of us, maybe not all of us, we're attached to real estate in some form or another. We're on real estate right now. I mean, someone owns this building. It's not us, right? We're just paying someone else's building off.
It's piqued my interest. I mean, it's very interesting and definitely, of course, the making money part, of course. It's really interesting. I just see how much, I realize how much I don't know.
Well, and everybody sees these TV shows and they go, oh, I want to do that, but they don't understand. It's a dangerous game if you don't have help.
Yeah.
And I always had help. I always went to someone and made sure I got the help. I don't know, just like I'll tell you, I have a 27-year-old stepson. I like to give this kind of analogy. And I think about 18, he wanted to do a nightclub. And I never said no. I said, go find someone who's doing it, learn about it, and come back to me and tell me how it is. And he did that, and he came back and goes, I don't want to do a nightclub. It's too much liability, right? And so I didn't want to kill his dream. Even inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is he thinking, right? And hopefully he can't read my face. But I said, that's okay. Go learn about it a little bit, bring it back to the table. And that's what we need to do, is we need to go figure out who's doing it, copy them long enough to where then we can go do it on our own. That's what it's all about. I mean, you want to go play basketball, you go get coached. You go, that's any sport. That's what we do for our children. But people will go into some of these wealth building things, whether it's, and I'm not going to get into the different investments people make, but they do it blindly and they get hurt. No matter what it is. You can get hurt in the stock market, you can get hurt gambling. Some people think they're experts at the crap table, and they'll still lose. There's still that chance, right? Anyway, okay, 9:05. Is it John?
Yes, sir.
You have no questions. That was a whole bunch of stuff that just got thrown all over you. Do you understand any of it?
Thrown up on you.
For the most part.
Let me make it simple. Get the homeowner to say yes at your price, take that paperwork and go, woohoo! Sell it to this guy and make 10 grand. Just give the paperwork to him and make your 10 grand.
That's what I was hoping for.
That's how it works.
That's it.
Literally that simple, we just overcomplicate it. Wholesaling is actually very, very simple.
It's very simple. This business is simple, but it's not always easy.
There's pitfalls. You just don't want to make some mistakes. That's it.
Right.
And with that contract, the homeowner the buyer can't go around and try to get a better deal.
No, because you're under it's a contract. Yeah. Break the contract. Watch what happens when someone breaks the contract. All right. Questions? It's always the same question, though. That's why I gotta be careful when you ask your question. What's the question?
How much money can you take and make money on it? And I'm talking how much?
Are you asking how much do we need to flip properties? How much do we need for an earnest money deposit? Do you know what I'm
That's
talking
what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're trying to.
No. Mayor, you kind of said this. It's like, don't you need hundreds of thousands of dollars? What we need is gap money. I want to explain this.
Right.
So gap money is the money, because hard money lenders want you to have 20% down on average. So if I'm buying a property for $500,000, I need 100 grand. Plus points, plus closing costs, plus rehab, in most cases, not always, or at least some of the rehab. We have hard money lenders that will actually cover 100%. So,
Okay, I'll get your money across the ocean.
It sounded poetic.
you're going to cross the border.
Yeah.
Okay, which border?
Which one you want?
Whatever it takes.
I got it.
You're going to have to explain that to me.
Any other questions?
So let me answer his question though. So what do you need to do a deal? If it's a $500,000 deal, you probably need 150 grand in gap money. The hard money lender will cover the difference. Does that make sense? So you need 150,000. You cannot, when I was doing stuff in 08, I was using 50 grand and less. Hard to do that now. You do need skin in the game. You need some money. So you got to learn how to raise capital. It's part of this. If you're wholesaling, not much. I'll tell you, we didn't talk about this. One of the tricks I do for the earnest money deposit, I shared this with you. So I'll find someone that has an extra 5 grand or 10 grand.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I'll say, hey, if you let me use that for my earnest money deposit,
I'll pay you 6 grand back.
yeah, I'll give you 5% on your money in 2 weeks.
Hoorah.
So if they let me borrow 5 grand, what's 5%?
250 bucks.
250 bucks. Would you pay 250 bucks to use 5 grand to get a deal that you're making 10 or 20 or 30?
Heck yeah.
All day long. A lot of people have an extra 5 or 10 grand laying around. They just don't have hundreds of thousands. So get that to them with their money back. We don't secure it though. It's a little dangerous, but that's something we've always done. It's like, hey, you got 10,000, you want to make 5% on your money? They got it sitting in the bank making less than 1. They'll make their 5%. Offer them 10%, 500 bucks.
Now you're talking.
Yeah, $5,500 back, and you go make your 20.
Yeah.
10, whatever it ends up being. So it's just a little tricky way. A lot of people so that's a great way to start building your investor base. Because if you can do well by them with the 5,000, then now when you want to talk to someone about 100,000, hey, we'll call Sarah over here. She's been investing with me for the last year. No one needs to know how much it is. But you paid her back, didn't you?
Right.
Even though it was only $5,000, right? Now you've built your momentum because you have a track record.
Right.
Start small. You don't have to start big.
And good references.
And that's your references. That becomes well, that's one thing we do with raising capital. Call our references.
So you basically use like a fixed number. You don't try to persuade somebody to come on the deal with you or anything like that, right?
Oh, it depends. Depends. If I'm you and I'm just starting out, I'd probably get 50% of the profit away. I do an equity split. You're the skill, they're the money. All right? Definitely. When you're just starting out, give away a lot more than you would. Like, I don't like giving that away now. 50% is a lot to give away.
Unless you have 10 deals going on and you have no more.
If you found a solid deal and didn't have the cash to lubricate the deal, for example.
You're going to lubricate that deal?
Lubricate that deal? I don't know what the deal is. What's the deal, man? What's the deal, man?
That choice wouldn't be.
Hey, look at me, I'm turning red for you. I actually.
Would that be a little less risky?
It's getting really risky.
To make it happen, Captain. The deal.
Can you say make it happen, Captain? Hey, you can be my wingman anytime.
What if you have a good deal but don't have the money to fund
Yeah,
it?
so if you don't have the money to fund it, look, if you get the deal,
Right.
okay, if you get a deal, there's always going to be a buyer if it's a good deal. As long as you know how to analyze that deal and you know it's a true deal. What we have on the market now is garbage. I can prove it. I could probably pull up an email of mine today and I can show where that person's lying and the person that buys it's going to lose money.
Average wholesaler says rehab is 40 grand. You'll look, the same guy's going to send you 3 emails in the same day.
And they're 2,000 square feet and above.
Yeah.
Get them done for 40. Not happening in this market.
Saturated with rehabs or flippers, right? There's a lot of
People that think they're flippers.
Well, here's what they do. They prey on newbies, and the newbie doesn't know any better and loses money, and they borrow the money from their family, and that's the sad part. That's why we started this academy. That was a big part of it,
exactly why.
because we kept seeing this happen to people where they'd go spend $80,000 to some guru to learn how to flip properties. They never got the hands-on. They borrow money from a family member to do a deal that they lose 50 grand on, and now every Thanksgiving and Christmas they're looking across the table from that family member trying to figure out how to avoid the stink eye. Right? Have you ever had the stink eye? It's not a fun thing. I get it from my wife all the time.
He owes her a lot of money.
I don't. It's my inside joke, but my wife likes to get on Howard. She gives me the stink eye. It's that look. You know you're in trouble. We like to have fun here, guys, so hopefully you join in with us. And I love that you said lubricating or whatever.
Lubricate your liquid assets.
Fit right in. We're gonna have to edit this film later.
X-rated, PG-13,
If you
please.
have a good deal, and you think it's a good deal,
We have a lot of buyers.
well, call me. Yes.
We have, if you find something good and you're looking for buyers, we are always buying.
And we'll fund your deal and give you a fair share.
I'll call you tomorrow.
All right.
Any other
I
questions?
didn't understand your question. You said you crossed the ocean. I was still trying to figure it out.
How many deals you have a month, per month?
How many do I have a month?
And personally or the company?
Yeah. We've got a lot going right now, but at any one time, we're generally running between 10 and 20.
20 a month?
Not a month. And 20 that are running.
At a time.
Right now, total projects was over 30 going on as a company. Total different ways people are.
Every month?
Not every month. Because that project, or that flip takes 4 months, sometimes 6 months to finish. So it's not like we're, and
Well, at the end of it, how many you make a year and then you?
Hundreds.
So here's what we're trying to do. So understand this, when you're flipping, you generally don't want to make less than 50 grand. We don't want to make 50. And I tell that to a homeowner. I'll say, look, when I take on the liability, I don't want to make less than 50. Robert, you heard me do this to Barbara. Right? I said, here's my numbers. I don't hide anything.
Right.
I have nothing to hide. You either want to do it this way or we can do it that way. You can make the money or we can make the money. Do you want out now? She wants out now. She wants us to flip her house. Or she wants to sell it to us all cash. That's the last I heard, right? She was supposed to call me yesterday. It didn't happen. Yeah, of course, no one got I've been busy, so he's been trying to call me too every day. Sorry. You give me the same look my wife gives me. I'm in trouble. All right. Now, but you show them, hey, I'm taking on the liability. You know there's things that can happen behind the walls. This is a problem house. It's deteriorating, and it's got stuff that's probably going on. Probably needs a ton of termite. I'm not even asking for termite. I've seen houses where there's $20,000 in termite work.
Wow.
I've done one that had $20,000 in termite. Great story. The guy, you guys ever heard, do you guys remember the 1967 Olympics? Anybody remember that?
67? Come on.
67?
Do you remember the 67?
I wasn't alive. I wonder if anybody else does. 4 years old. Do you guys know what happened during that Olympics?
Termites?
See the fish in the air?
Oh, that one.
So I actually bought a house from Ronald Smith, who was the Olympian that held up his fist in that Olympics. He was the gold medalist. And his house had plants growing through the bottom of it. And it was a sad story because here's a glorified Olympian who, in the end, it just never panned out, right? And so I actually partnered with him on his own house.
Bless you.
Pretty cool story. And we rebuilt that house and sold it and gave his family a chunk of money. Because he ended up dying in the process.
Oh, wow.
But I got to hear the whole story about how that came about. And that's a whole nother conversation.
Another class.
Another class. All right. 9:15. Anybody want to ask this guy, because he's the master?
I'm good, yeah.
Any questions on wholesaling?
He's addressed them all, it sounds like.
Okay. So there'll be a Thursday next month where we'll have another class. So that'll be a free one. So any of you that are just visiting us, look on the meetup, Fortune Weavers meetup. That's where you'll find out when our next open class is. It'll probably be here.
Is it usually like the second or third Thursday?
Third Thursday. That's what I'm looking to do. Yeah. It's just an open forum, open class, and it's one of our classes, and we'll just teach it like we normally do.
Well, if you signed in and put your email and information, we do.
Yeah. If you put your name on there, you just became a part of the drip campaign. Alfred, I apologize if you didn't want that. You just have to unsubscribe. It's real easy to unsubscribe.
It doesn't have their email on it.
Hold on. We got another question.
many, like, what percentage of your calls would you say come from wholesalers or other investors off of your bandit side?
Majority. Majority of, out of 10 calls, at least 5 of those are wholesalers or buyers. So all of this building a buyer's list for me, except on exclusive deals where I'm like, this is a tough situation. I found the guy next door. Most of my buyers come from signs. They're like, hey, you got any inventory? I hate that question. I'm like, do you? I'm not here looking for deals. Why are you calling me for deals? That's what I'm asking for, cash for houses, not.
I want to comment on something. Those of you that are new, you guys understand that we're at the end of a cycle. We're at the end of a cycle. If you know what happened at the end of the last cycle, which was 08, it was a golden opportunity to make as much money as you possibly could. I don't think it's going to be as sweet, but it's going to be sweet. So make sure it's in a year. It's going to be probably when interest rates hit 5.5. That's kind of my prediction. 5.5 to 6. Once you see mortgage rate, it's all over the news. The guy next to me is reading the newspaper. He's about 85 and he's shaking like this. I was trying to read it. He's got the shakes.
Let me hold it.
Anyway, so I'm reading. The headline is mortgage rates to rise.
3 more times this year.
Get prepared for the fallout or something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I hear loan officers are getting fired. I keep getting the calls. People looking for work because lenders are laying off their loan officers. It's the same thing that happened before.
It's getting shaky.
Short, right?
Well, the Big Short is a little different because we had
securitization of mortgage loans.
We had a mix-up in regulation. It won't be like that. A traditional cycle is a loss of 20%. So we'll just expect that $500,000 property to go down to 4.
Which is great, because in the
next dream home, it's going to be timed very soon.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, they're all loosening it up. Yeah, but it's not going to be the same. It's not quite going to be the same, but it'll be fun. So get ready. So if you're not in the business, get in the business now, because if you want, this is the time to make money.
Raise capital right now.
Yeah. Start to raise capital, start to learn, get whatever you need. YouTube is a great place to kind of get a foundation. Bigger Pockets is another one, another website. Great information, but you still need to learn how to talk to a homeowner and overcome objections, because whenever we go into a house, very rarely are we the only person they're talking to. They're always calling their realtor. I mean, I'm talking to him real quick. I'm not pointing at you, probably. Not yet. But I'm going to point at you a little later. Give me that stick eye. All right. So Robert, so we deal with this homeowner, and the house isn't on the market. It's just an ugly house. And we sit down at the table, and she's got like a book from a Keller Williams agent that's beautiful. She goes, "Where's yours, Mr. Weaver?" Right? And it's got comps, and it's a hardcover book. That's what she gave him. It's all beautiful and embossed. And I'm like, I don't have one of those. I'm just here to make you a bunch of money, right? And it works, because, right? But I was like, I was able to look at the book and find errors. So the book was all beautiful, but I found errors in her comps. And I educated her, I walked her through how to comp the property. Once you do that, you create the separation, and that's why she's going with us. Right. Even though a realtor's owner, she can make a lot more money with her.
Nice.
Little tips that I'm throwing in there for you guys. I don't know if you're catching it.
Yeah, never judge a book by its cover. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh! Put up. I'm here all night. 5 more minutes.
Another question? I don't know about the ocean. I didn't understand that.
Because I know somebody that can give you all the money you need for whatever deal you want to do.
Is it mafia really?
Cartel? Okay.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah, right?
They want to know everything.
As they should. Yeah. One of the classes we'll open up for you guys is how to raise capital, because I think it's a very important class.
That's a great class.
Very important class. We teach 3 classes on that. One is rules and regulations, one is financial literacy, to have the conversations, and the last one is presentation, what you should be giving people. Because you can't just, you got to leave them with something.
Yep.
All right. Al, nothing else? Florida, you're not sleeping on me tonight? I love it. You got here on time and you're not sleeping?